Now, Bob Catter is never far from a headline, and he certainly made a few about the Murray. Earlier this year, he caused uproar when he was quoted as dismissing concerns about the Murray-Darling Basin. He said we should be farming where the water is, and just one of his rivers in North Queensland has more water than the entire Murray-Darling Basin. In response, Nick Xenophon asked him to come and see the lower river, and today he made good on that promise, and I caught up with him at the airport. Thanks very much for your time. Now, today's trip was a learning exercise. What have you learnt today?
There was a family there who had 700 milker cows. That's very big. It's a very big dairy. And they are no longer farming because the water that they needed was not there. There was no water for them at all. Now, these were clearly people that would not go out of farming if they had the water. The water was not there. There was no water in the lake that they could get to irrigate their farm, so they had to close the farm down. That's pretty direct stuff.
How would you fix the problem then? Because the scientists are saying to have a healthy river, we need to put water back into the river.
Xenophon made the case today, and he made it very, very well, that the first and easiest and simplest solution is to get the MISs out. They are people in there who don't want to pay tax.
Managed investment schemes.
Managed investment schemes. Take them out, there's 1 million megalitres there. Now, it's not as simple as that, and Nick would be the first to admit that. But there is a large part of the solution involved with the managed investment schemes. Get them out. They are completely distorting the marketplace as well. There are whole crops like wine, as we saw today, and there are mangoes from my area. Massive overproduction created by an artificial market, created by people not wanting to pay tax. So there's one. Two, I mean, there are a lot of people there doing drip irrigation today using polypipe or tapes. And yes, there's terrific scope for that. But if you force that upon the farmers of Victoria and New South Wales and Queensland, they got no money. You'll just break them. I mean, they're stampeding out of agriculture now, but they've got no money. So there would have to be finance provided to them, A, by way of subsidy, and B, by way of 2% loans, which were always there before.
Now, you're in a position, because of the way the Parliament exists now, to do something. Are you going to become a champion for South Australia? From what you've said, it sounds like you've learnt a lot today.
Nothing to do with my friendship with Nick Xenophon or our common interests in believing that the two-party system has been disastrous for Australia. Nothing to do with any of those things. I was the only member of Parliament in Australia that went to all of the Murray-Darling reports, and there was about 6 or 7 of them. And I just thought it was the responsibility of every patriotic or caring Australian to have a look seriously at this problem.
Well, what are you going to do about the problem that would help South Australia?
I think that the decision makers in Canberra, the ministers that will make this decision, I will be talking to them, and I will be talking very forcefully that there is a serious problem there that needs to be addressed, and then pointing out the way that it should be addressed. By fixing up the MIS problems, you fix up part of the Murray-Darling problem as well. But look, you know, instead of looking negatively, simple-minded, stupid government says, oh, we've got no water, so we better take some water off these people over here. The fact that you're going to shut down half of Western New South Wales doesn't seem to be on their radar. But you think positively and intelligently. Now, whether you want to go to the great visionary and the greatest builder in Australian history, the greatest engineer in Australian history, Dr. Bradfield, and dig a ditch up from Spencer Gulf and fill Lake Eyre and put 30 million megalitres of precipitation, or whether you simply want to help farmers in New South Wales and Victoria and Queensland to put poly and tape in instead of flood irrigation.
You've been a champion for North Queensland. It sounds like you're going to be a champion for South Australia as well in Canberra. Is that a reading of it?
If we are isolated, as a couple of people said today, you know, the advertising newspaper, we can't get in it because, you know, we're not part of the Adelaide system. That is infinitely worse for us as North Queenslanders. And unless we are prepared to fight side by side with South Australia and Tasmania and parts of Western Australia, then we deserve to be left out. But if we combine and say, yes, We have 3 minority groups in this state. We get 1 million people up there. You've got 1.5 million people here. There's 500,000 in Tasmania. If we start pulling together, we can wield a lot of power in this country. And the decision by the people of South Australia to send a very aggressive and very capable person such as Xenophon to Canberra sends a very, very strong message out of the state.
Thank you very much for your time.